are you, really? What is your true identity? Are you the one you think you are? Are you the person other people think you are? Is that a mask? And in that case, what lies thereunder? Wear the mask long enough, not letting any air touch your skin, and it will attach to your face. If that is the case, who are you, anyway? Karl Pilkington, the protégé of Ricky Gervais, or perhaps it is the other way around, has a face. And if he's got a mask, it swirls all around his round little head. So is it a mask? To what degree? And does he rip it off in the evenings? Last time we started the deconstruction of Karl, we discussed the background and the definition of terms. We did not discuss the definition of identity, self, and natures of masks. On the truthness to Karl scale, ranging from 0 to 100%, the possibility of Karl wearing a mask has to be considered as being one possible truth. But in that case, how do you put a number to it? If his mask grew fixed to his face, what does that make him? Let's consider some of the new data added to the stack of information since last time. We have seen the editor of Karl going abroad once and now recently twice. And apart from that, he has been more or less everywhere. The myth is spreading, the stories multiply. From an historian's perspective, this is good and bad. At first sight, it seems good, compared to, say, stories written down almost 2,000 years ago, about events supposed to have happened even further back in time. In this case, we have much of the original material. We have it in audio format. We know it was aired, the dates and times. Most of the people involved and the witnesses to the events are still alive. And still we cannot say that Karl is real and authentic in his words and his appearance. So if this is hard, the evidence we get in the Idiot Abroad points in both directions, I'm afraid. Partly for the same reason, we have quite clear evidence that Karl has the wits and brains to come up with fun material on the go, on the spot, when confronted, with the right animal to eat, introduced to the right kind of freak, or simply put in the right place at the right time. These episodes are most probably authentic and not scripted. Of course, some preparation might have been done in terms of the likelihood of different topics coming up during the discussion. But Karl delivers with at least what seems like ease and more or less true awe. The question is, does this point towards low intelligence Karl the way the duo or trio wants and tells us to see it? Karl as the infant brain untouched by things like education and real discourse on the big questions. A brain that evolved in his own little jar, detached from what most of us call society. Or does it point towards a high intelligence Karl discovered by or molded by the dynamic duo of Merchant and Gervais? Here, we really would need to know what those first episodes of the radio shows were like. Perhaps Karl was just silent, and behind the scenes in the coffee breaks the story and legend started to take form. Perhaps circular is the perfect form for a mastermind brain. Of course we do not know if the filming of the television series left hours of unfunny, non-witty material on the cutting room floor. Perhaps poor Karl was confronted with many more of his nightmares, but those situations simply didn't turn out to add to the myth. Perhaps the writers and proclaimers of the cult of Karl cherry-picked the material that best served their purpose. Well, of course they did. The question is to what degree. On a side note, reading the book Forged by Barty Ehrman, where he talks about different types of forgery in the Bible and other Christian literature, one could ask oneself, if Karl is made up to a larger rather than normally small degree, what kind of forgery are we witnessing looking at the television shows and listening to the podcasts and reading the books? I don't remember Ehrman ever talking about a fake buffoon category of forgeries. Perhaps in the next edition he has to add that to the list. So next time I should put forth some arguments for and against the truthness to Karl. Let them battle it out, the best ones that can be found by me, with the help of others, of course, so please help in this pursuit of the truth. Otherwise I have quite limited resources. Also a kind of timeline would have to be established, with clear connections to the events and evidence. But to finish, let's give first an argument that should make it clear that the index cannot be 100%. Karl simply cannot be exactly what is presented to us. The fact that some of the material from the XFM shows were rehashed in the podcasts tells us that at least he was told to tell certain things as he did tell them in the radio show. In case he was fooled into this, if indeed is the ignorant fool, as he is portrayed to be, it would only restrict reality from being at the very upper end of the index, him still being a buffoon and almost the real deal. And the question is, why repeat the material if you would like to uphold Karl as the real deal? Ricky admitted that as preparation for the podcasts, they talked about what subjects to bring up, and yes, sometimes Karl himself then says, we discussed this before, didn't we? Still, this could be scripted, more or less. Both the first and the second time around of the podcast, the trio giving the same argument back at us. Why would we repeat it? We're not that stupid. And here they would probably be right, but perhaps they are just a bit sloppy. Sloppy stupid? So where does this leave us index-wise? Remember, this is a win-win situation. If Karl is real, he's a gem of lunacy. And if he is fiction, he's a work of art and a genius. In search for the truth, you can't lose. As far as an idiot abroad is concerned, it could hardly increase the truthness to Karl index, the TTK index, nor could it decrease it by a huge amount. And all in all, I would at this moment consider the index at this point to be around 38%, to be revised, enter the evidence. So to end this episode, I would like to give a call out to all of you lovers of science and truth. Do you have any information on the truth of Karl Pilkington, not easily accessed via the internet? The truth of Pilkio 1, with or without a mask? Give us a call, won't you? Or rather give us a mail, put it as a comment to this post, and spread the word of this call out. You could visit, for example, http and so on, tinyurl.com/deconstructing Karl in one word. tinyurl.com/deconstructing Karl, or you can visit the recently created Google Plus page. I'm starting to wonder, will there 2,000 years from now be a Karl seminar full of scholars discussing the TTK index? I mean, the people who built the 7 wonders of the world will be remembered forever. So what about the man who ruined them all?